Hello, Star Family. Thank you for joining us on this awesome live event. It is great to have everyone here, united, coming together in this sacred gathering. I hope that everyone can hear me and see me well. If there are any types of interferences this time around, then please let me know. So hopefully I can remedy the situation if it's possible. But other than that, it's awesome to have everyone here. If you're here live or just watching the replay, thank you for joining for this special occasion. The topic of today in general will be the Prime Directive. Like, what is that? It's not necessarily just something from Star Trek. And what happened at Roswell? And is there any type of alien interference here on planet Earth? So this topic was sparked by some of the information that came through during the last event, and also what many of you have asked about. And basically, I was originally wanted to do a light language session this week around, but it's going to happen next week because I think this is more on point and important since so much official disclosure is happening in the public arena. They're warming people up to the thought that, hey, like, there are like extraterrestrials and they actually are real. Like, not only weird people talk about them or believe in them, they actually do exist. But so far they're like kind of only doing, they're just simply confirming what we have already known for decades. So nothing shocking is probably going to happen for quite a long time, or if at all, in my humble opinion, and probably that's the best way to go about it. So let us be patient, but up until then, like, we don't have to wait upon like government officials to confirm things for us or information, because like we can get our own information. Like, most of us do have our higher connections, so that means you have a direct connection to source itself. You have direct connection to our ET guides as well. So just simply communicate with them and see their perspective, because it's going to be far more clearer and like not subjective, but objective. And they will give you like as it is. Like, they won't sugarcoat stuff or try to like lead you down on specific routes. Like, they're going to give you simply the information that you are ready to handle at that time. So that's also a huge factor in it. So also, like, a huge sort of a disclaimer before I go into more of the info is that like all that I'm going to share is comes from my interactions with my ET guides, and like me giving them a lot of questions and asking for a lot of information regarding the subject as well along the years. So everything that you hear is based upon what I have learned from my ET connections. So this is their perspective. Like, it's not a official statement of the government or some kind of whistleblower information. Like, this is hands-on information from the ETs themselves. So, or at least what they have been allowed to give us so far. It's awesome to have everyone here. Thank you for joining. Hello, Kuldeep and Silver Boho Soul. Yes, we had one question, which is like very much on point with the topic, which I will address also later. It is regarding ET interference with nukes and stuff like that, but I think that will like tie in very beautifully with the whole topic. Okay, so first off, like, the first thought that I received is like going into the Prime Directive during the last event, and I also did an upload of like a summary of this of a specific topic that we did during the last event, which was like, can I trust the Galactic Federation of Light? Like, can you do that? Do they actually exist? And like, who are they? And what is all the BS information regarding them? And if you can hear my dog under the window, then I will try to do my best to ignore it. So just stay with me. Okay, probably we have some stray dogs outside the street right now. Okay, so yeah, like the Galactic Federation of Light or Union of Worlds or whatever name humans tend to give them, basically. But basically there is like a something similar to what you see in Star Trek, that like many evolved cultures like come together to work together as a whole, because like they have a common goal to like learn and to evolve in a positive and constructive way. And since they're like so much more higher vibrational and much more evolved than we are, like there are many levels to them. So not all of them are like 7-dimensional Pleiadians or something. Like they can be like 5th or 6th dimensional, like guys who are like relatively close to us. But the only difference is that they have already like figured stuff out and they are on their path of evolution in a very good way, basically. But they can also work with them. And also you can find that when they're assisting evolving cultures, just like ours, like we're in very much deep into our development phase. So we're at a very fragile phase of our evolution. Then some of them will, not some of them, quite a few of them, will choose to be born on planet Earth or like in these specific zones. So they can like assist from the ground as well. And also it serves many purposes, but basically this is the only way they can assist without being at interference. Because the thing with the whole Prime Directive stuff is that they are not allowed to interfere, since we live in the universe of duality and free will, which means that they cannot interfere with anyone's will, basically, and they cannot intervene with evolving and developing cultures. For example, in general, like the majority of the population is like super not ready to interact with them, or at least like not just like even accept the fact of their existence, or that they have been here for God knows how long. Like for most of our culture, like this would be like a foreign concept or even something scary. So this is also why it's just so important that they like stay away and like stay hidden from us, and like only communicate with the ones that are actually ready. Because you can just look at our history of like the legends of like all these gods and stories of angels coming down to earth. Like basically most of them are like ETs, if you like do some research on it, like ancient recollections of ET contact and stuff like that. And like most of you probably already know, like if like a unevolved individual like culture like witnesses something like grandiose or like super evolved, like they will think that probably they're gods, or probably they would even worship them or something. And I think in the first season of Star Trek they like addressed this question. I think the episode is called like Who Watches the Watchers or something. Like I highly recommend like checking just that episode out. Like it's really good. It introduces this whole concept of like non-interference and like why it is so important. Because like you can like really like derail entire civilizations by doing the wrong thing, basically like revealing yourself or just showing too much of something that you're not ready to. So that is a huge factor why they don't come in and save us all from ourselves. As many people are asking like, when are they going to land and like save the world? Like they're not going to do that. So that's our job to do, basically. Like we created the mess on planet Earth collectively, and it is our duty to transform it. Like that's why we are here. And the only way of them like not interfering and breaking the law is by choosing to be born in specific societies. And that's how most of us got here. So welcome to planet Earth. It's an amazing place. So yeah, like that's the only way they are not interfering, because if you go through it yourselves, if you live through it, you make those dysfunctional patterns your own. You inherit them from your family, from your lineage, or you can also like even experience them yourself, like during your lifetime. Then that means that if you're healing that, then it's like not interference, because that's already yours, like you went through that. So, and by healing those things that we've been going through, because most of us, especially like healers and like people are like very, I wouldn't say like active, but like have a very potent energy, and they have this service to other mentality to them. we tend to have a very difficult life, or like have very difficult family situations or upbringing, because like that's the whole point, that we have to go through those difficult phases to like make that our own, to like absorb it into our being, and then like find solutions to that. Like, how can we heal that difficult family relationship, or how can I heal that trauma? How can I heal that physical sickness? Or I know, like, had a severe accident or went through something traumatic, like how can I heal that? And like that's the whole point of us being here, of finding new ways and solutions to these problems that have been like lingering in the collective of humanity for God knows how long. So it's a very difficult thing to do, but we're in the middle of it, so let's move forward. Okay, so yeah, we addressed the Prime Directive of the principle of like non-interference, how to focus, of developing civilizations. But yeah, then like what the hell happened on planet Earth? Because like we are definitely being interfered with. Like if you do some research, or quite a bit of research, which I highly recommend, so you can gain like some clarity of like what has been happening on planet Earth and like what is happening. And it is becoming very evident that like something that is not necessarily Earth-based is like interfering with human affairs and like how we evolve. And it's something that didn't start now or just in the past few decades. So this goes way back. But the aspect that I wanted to address is mostly what happened. I think the Roswell crash was during the 50s or so. Yeah, I think it's 52 or something. Okay. But basically, it started this whole ET activity and phenomenon, and like entanglement with negative groups really started after World War II. I think it started to unravel and like have its like foreplay or something during World War II, because we were like starting to become more evolved technologically as well. And as I understand and know, like there were like treaties between certain factions in the war and with extraterrestrial factions as well. Like a type of technological exchange was in the air. And some people claimed that like the Nazis had like super evolved stuff, and they were working on some saucers, which I guess it's totally possible. Like I wouldn't be surprised, but I cannot confirm that. But I hope we will know one day. So yeah, that would be cool. But the thing that I have more information about is like how these like treaties work, and like how super illegal this is. So basically, just as I was talking about the Prime Directive, if you were to do like this type of exchange or like this type of deal, developing civilization, like for example, I have some awesome gadgets that I can give you, but you have to give me access to your population, or you have to give me access to your genetics, or maybe I want to have a base of operations somewhere in your world, or something like that. And basically, like these treaties are like illegal by galactic law. So the Prime Directive and galactic law like prevents such type of interference. And basically by doing these things, they were trying to break the law, but it didn't really work. So yeah, but they are very sneaky. So as you have probably already learned in the past few decades, and especially in the past 4 years, like these forces are like super sneaky and clever on like how they want to like creep into like every crevice of society and like exploit absolutely every loophole in law and in just absolutely everything just to get to you and to like like just take over basically. Like that's what's kind of the whole point of this, of like gaining access to planet Earth and to the whole collective, because it's super valuable what is happening here. And many ET races like they have bases here, but many ET races have been working with planet Earth and on planet Earth for God knows how long, probably going way back than we were here as human beings. So basically many factions have invested a lot of energy and time in planet Earth, and like everyone kind of wants to get a piece of it. Like the so-called good guys, the Union of Worlds, who are like the evolved races, like they're not here for their own benefit. Like from their perspective, it is also a type of experiment of what can be achieved evolution-wise here on planet Earth, but it's like not for their benefit basically. But the service to self groups are here to exploit it and like to aggressively take over and make it their own and like twist everything into their own image, which if you like do some soul searching and like digging and like also just society and like how things are structured and function, then you can like see that whole pattern of like of this type of exploitation and like how to infiltrate and corrupt and disrupt everything that is natural or divine, just to be like that, to push everything away from our higher vibrational path basically. But yeah, so basically they have broken galactic law, kind of, because they have also used some loopholes in this whole technological exchange stuff. And as far as I understand, that by the info that I receive from my guides, is like they are not permitted to like openly do this type of exchange that I talked about previously. But what they have done is they have crash landed stuff on the world, deliberately or not so deliberately, it is not known, but stuff have crash landed on this world, and human beings, since we're very curious creatures, we've investigated and started to use that crap that crash landed on this world. So basically we have fulfilled the bargain by taking the bait basically. So humans did receive the technology, and by taking it and using it, they have accepted the terms basically. So it is a golden, beautiful example of how they work. And you can also see all these types of like sneaky tactics and exploitations in other parts of our culture as well, of this like you're not even aware that you're like consenting to something, but since you're like engaging with it in a certain level, you're like creating a subliminal contract with that specific faction, or like you're agreeing to something that if you were to know like what that is or like what the outcome would be, you would not do it definitely. But since just like doing things as we do and like being like super not present and aware of many things, because most of us are like super in the dark about a lot of stuff, like what is happening and how things work on this world. And if you like do some research and like look at your own life and like soul contracts, then when you will discover that, hey, like I consented and like entangled myself with a lot of stuff that I don't want to be even near to. So that is why doing soul contract removal stuff is like so important. Yeah, I can't really write it down right now, but you can search online for spiritual contract removal. I highly recommend doing that. So spiritual contract removal. I'm not sure like who did it. I think it's called, he's called Andrew Barthitz or something, but he's called the Galactic historian. Like he has some amazing spiritual contract removals. I also did like 2 videos with it like 2 years ago or so. You can find it under my meditation stuff, and also the PDFs to the whole contract removal stuff. Like it's golden. If you like put your energy into it and like you pronounce and like state those things as your truth, it can be like super powerful. There are like 5. There is for contract removal for the divine feminine, divine masculine, for banking system, media system, and I think governance too. I think that these are the 5 basically, but they're like super powerful. They're very detailed and long, but it's worth going through, especially if you start to like go through all the parts of like what are you disentangling and what you were connected to. Then you will start to be like shocked, just as I was, like, holy shit, like this entanglement happens on so many subtle levels that you don't even think about it. And like this is how Earth works, and like this is how these dark factions function, that they work from the shadows and you don't even recognize or see that, hey, like I just committed to doing something or being part of something that I would never do in my life if I were to know exactly what it was. Kind of similar with when you like go to the bank and like you want to open an account or something, and you receive this huge pile of documentation, which is a contract with a shit ton of details in it, and you're just like, oh, I'll just sign here, here, and here. Okay, but what am I signing onto? Or like, what is all these details? Yeah, like that's how they work. It's amazing. Okay, so let's see. If something happened in the chat box, yeah, like if everyone has any questions regarding this or just share something, then please do so. Okay. Yes, like disclosure will come from ground up. Yeah, like it has been on its way for quite some time. And like also like people talking about their own experiences is a form of disclosure as well. And like that's kind of why I started doing my YouTube stuff, is all these crazy and interesting things that are happening to me, and I was not sharing it with anyone, and it was incredibly frustrating, basically. Having all these amazing experiences and just like keeping them to myself was super frustrating. Especially like if you live in a region, or like I think like most of us live in such environments that like none really exist around us, to whom you would actually be able to communicate this stuff, because like they would think that you're crazy or something's wrong with you. Best case scenario, they will think that you're crazy. But yeah, I have heard of very bad cases of like people sharing their point of view on certain subjects and like how their family reacted to it. So in that regards, I'm like very lucky with my family, but I was also very cautious of like not sharing these things with everyone. Or like only two people, I think, yeah, like my wife and my mother who knows about these things. So that's about it on my end. Okay. Oh yeah, like I haven't told anyone from my friends or family. I just like do YouTube videos and that are like watched by hundreds or thousands of people around the world. But as long as nobody knows around me, it's okay. Okay. Okay, so Silver Boho Soul. So what are the consequences of these beings that have broken the Prime Directive? Yes, thank you for putting me back on track. So yeah, like when I was asking about this whole stuff of like what happened then, the very interesting thing that I experienced from my guides is that they're like always this super balanced, peaceful, calm presence. And when I asked them about this, they become like super agitated. And I wouldn't say like frustrated, but very upset about the whole subject matter. Like not upset at me for me asking them, but the whole incident that has happened then. Because like they're here to like uphold galactic law and to keep things in balance. And by this sneaky act, they have broken balance and law, and they have set humanity on a timeline that they said it will be very difficult for us to like recover from that. Because like this was what the timeline that we're on right now, like this was not the intended one, as I understand it from them. So they have basically like set us back energetically and like set us on this oppression type of timeline that we're in right now. And like this was not the original plan for us, basically. But by doing that sneaky thing of like exchanging technology and like gaining like a foothold here on this world, by that they have like set us on a timeline that will be difficult to recover from, as they said, because like all our technologies have like emanating this harmful radiation, basically. That's just one of it. Also this like whole surveillance stuff is kind of not the best thing ever, to say in the least. Also, it has influenced our medical system as far as I understand it. And also, so basically all our electronics and like computers and stuff like that is like based on that so-called like low vibrational corrupted technology, basically, which is what like a setting the stage for the so-called AI consciousness to come into this world, basically, so it can like gain a foothold and a platform here on this world as well. Because if we're like not as technologically advanced, then it is more difficult for it to come here, as far as I understand, because like the evolved races, like they evolve naturally and organically, and they become high vibrational and in a natural way, and they gain all these crazy abilities, which we also possess to a certain extent in a natural way, because it's part of who we are. And as you raise your vibration and as you heal, like more gifts and more knowledge and awesome things will come online, because it's already in you. Like it is our heritage, as they say. And the thing with the sneaky beings and the corrupted beings is that they're like in an evolutionary loophole, and they're like blocked from evolving further because they haven't worked through their shit, basically. So they're staying low vibrational, and there's just that far that you're able to go on that path, basically. It's like maybe the lower fourth density or so. That's how far you can push this whole thing if you don't choose to evolve further. And what happens when what happens when you're unable to like push further? Then they started to like and you can absolutely see this in our current culture, just in the past 10 or 20 years. Like do some research and like look at certain stuff that are like common knowledge these days, of like us trying to do things that we would naturally be able to do anyways. For example, since they're stuck evolutionarily, they're trying to like emulate these high vibrational gifts in an artificial way. For example, with like technological implants, or putting stuff in your body to perform certain tasks, which it would naturally be able to do if you were to like evolve further from this low vibrational state. But since they have chosen to like not evolve, because they will have to like give up who they are, basically, and like heal through that whole traumatic loophole type of program, then they wanted to like evolve in this way of like augmenting themselves and like twisting things that are like already there to try to emulate the high vibrational spheres, basically, in their own way. And of course it is not natural, it is not in alignment with natural flow. And yeah, like they're trying to bring it here on planet Earth as well, with all these like technological innovation stuff of like, hey, let's put some gadgets and shit into your body that is like super low vibrational. Well, guess what it will do? It will not allow you to evolve further. It will definitely like interfere with your body. It will definitely like interfere with your energetics. And most likely it will act more as like in monitoring and controlling mechanism, rather than something that is there to actually make your life better. But definitely it is sold as such, of like, this is the best thing ever that you always needed. And no, like you can do that shit on your own too, if you put in the work and like actually want to achieve that. But the problem with our society is like nobody wants to put in the work or get their hands dirty or actually start to face their own problems and like look for solutions to like work through it. I'm just going to pay someone to do it for me, or I just ask someone to do it for me because I don't want to put in the work. So for convenience, we're like giving up a lot of things that are like essential for our evolution, and it's not a very good place to be, in my humble opinion, or at least not so humble opinion. Okay. Yes, LEC, I thought the light already won. Yes, yeah, like it already happened like a few years ago on the higher planes, but we have to clean up the shit, basically. But yeah, like what we are seeing in my experience and like what I've received from my guides info is that, okay, like it is done on the higher vibrationally speaking. Like most, probably all like the big baddies are gone from this world because like they are not able to stay here any longer because like we have pushed through energetically to another existence. And simply we have become like incompatible with them. But like all the minions and like programmed individuals who have been like brainwashed for generations are like still running that old program. And we have to clean that stuff up. So yeah, I think that's going to be our mission for quite some time, of like trying to like deprogram people who are willing to like heal from that traumatic stuff, and to actually deprogram ourselves as well, because we hold a lot of detrimental codes as well. Like, yeah, I know like many of us are and have been working on this for quite some time, but there are like so many, like so subtle, these contracts and entanglements, that we have a lot to work through basically. But like that's the best thing that you can do also to assist others, of like resolving these things inside of you, clearing yourself, healing yourself, because if you do that, then you're also assisting others who are also going through the same stuff. Because like many people are like not able to even comprehend these things, but they are going through the same thing, for example, that you are or I am. But since we're able to comprehend that, hey, like there's something happening here that needs my attention and I have to put some work in this to heal through that whole difficult entanglement. But by you making that template, you're also assisting the person who is absolutely unaware of this existence. And thus they will not be able to create maybe a template for themselves of how to heal. But since you have created it, you're sharing it with them or with anyone in the collective who is like close to that resonance. They're receiving your template and they can like apply it in their own way, in their own life, if they choose to do so, of course. Because like the crucial part in all of this is like doing the work on yourself and like wanting to heal, wanting to change and evolve. But if a person doesn't have the drive in them or the willingness of like changing and like looking at themselves, then you can send them all the codes that you want. It will not work because they're rejecting it basically. But when they are ready, then basically they will always receive like what they need. That's how it works. Everything in the universe, like when you're open to something, or you like put a request that, hey, I need something right now, or I need help with this, then always, like according to law, you will receive that in whatever shape or form. Sometimes it will be something very gradual, something very subtle sometimes. And the problem is that I don't like to use the word beginners, but I will use it now. So like people who are like beginners on this path may think, I have seen this so many times, that, hey, like I put out this request and like nothing happens. And no, it's probably just missed it or something. Because many times it comes in such subtle ways, and also in ways that we are not willing to even recognize, because most of us function from the perspective that, hey, I want this, and like this is the only way this can materialize in my life. And by doing that, you're like absolutely like locking out and like pushing away everything else, and like you're pushing the solution away from yourself, because you say like, I only want this, like this is the only thing that I accept. And like you're like pushing everything else away from your perception. And the request has been set, the energy has come in to your field or into your life, and you just simply have not engaged with it. And what does energy do? It like flows on and it goes in a different direction, and it will be used up by something or someone else who is in resonance with it, basically. So nothing goes to waste. So that is why it is super important when you're like putting a request, or you like do a statement that, hey, I need healing with this, or I'm having difficulties with, I don't know, like my relationship with someone and I need help with that. And then it is like super important to be open for anything. Like the assistance may come in whatever shape or form. And like this is, I think, the most difficult practice for many of us, of like letting go of a specific outcome that we want for ourselves, because most of the time, like, that's probably not the best outcome that could happen. Like maybe that's the best thing that you can imagine for yourself at that time, but your higher self works in more miraculous ways, and your higher self can bring into you, for you, something far more amazing than probably you could even imagine for yourself. So that is why it's so important to just simply try to let things go and just observe, because the more you do it, the easier it becomes. And just trust yourself, like when that thing comes in, it may be super subtle, but you will recognize it. Just trust yourself that it will like click, like, okay, like this is it. Like I'm going with this person because I need to talk to them, or they can share something that will save my life. Like, you can never know. Okay. I have another question. Is reincarnation still happening? Or is this the end of the cycle of all of us? I'm not sure. Yeah, like as far as I understand, like my guides, as they always shared about like incarnation and reincarnation, is that it's like not a linear thing, incarnationally speaking. So most of us have this concept about reincarnation that came from the East, from India, I think, from the 60s. That, hey, like I lived in ancient Egypt and I was born in ancient Greece, then I lived in the Renaissance period somewhere, and now I'm here. And we think like this is the normal flow of like incarnations, of like going linearly in time forward and like maybe skipping a few centuries or decades. But from a higher dimensional perspective, it is like non-linear. And from the ultimate perspective, like we have access to all incarnations. But what we experience from this lifetime's perspective, yes, like this linearity does make it sound simpler to comprehend of how it works. But in general, how it works is that before you come into this life, you like choose for yourself a theme or something that you want to do. And then you attract incarnations and other lifetimes that will help you with that. So that is why in many cases, when you do like a regression or something, you will find that, hey, like I was doing the same thing in other times and cultures as well. And those incarnations come in because they contain valuable information on that specific topic. For example, you're a healer right now or something, or you're a poet. You're bringing through higher vibrational poems or something. And maybe in other lifetimes, you were also exploring that. And maybe you have a few lifetimes when you, like pushed that to its limits in that lifetime. And like I had a lot of experience doing that specific thing. And now you have the ability to draw maybe on that information. Maybe you're in your 30s now or 20s, but you're able to draw on the information of your wiser version of you, or a version of you who has already completed that path. Like that doesn't mean that you have to like repeat what you have done, but you can like draw on those experiences to apply it in your own life and like find new solutions to old problems in some cases. Alrighty. Yeah, like regarding incarnation, yeah, I think that's all that came through it, basically. Okay, so yeah, like let's go into the question that was posted in the community section. So I wonder if they could speak about galactic interference of nukes being used on Gaia. Okay. I highly recommend like checking out 2 documentaries, of which I don't know their names, but like I think it was like 3 years ago, in 2022 or 1, I'm not sure, like Netflix and Showtime at the same time put out 2 miniseries of documentaries regarding this whole subject. And the main topic for those documentaries were basically the Navy and the Air Force confirming specific events that were kind of already circulating in the public arena. And but they go, I'm not sure in which documentary, but they go into quite a lot of detail and spend quite a few episodes on this whole subject of like nukes, the Cold War, and like what ETs had to do with it. And I can't remember the name of... Yes, I do remember. There is this amazing elderly gentleman called Robert Dean, I think. I'm not sure if he's still with us. He was like very old when I last saw things with him. But he's a retired, I think, like general or something. And he was starting to speak out about like UFOs in the late 90s, I think. And he's also spent quite some time talking about his experience during the Cold War of like ETs triggering World War III quite a few times, almost. But yeah, like if you want to go more into that, then I suggest those documentaries. They're pretty good for some reason, so that's a good step. And the interesting thing is that it came out also on Netflix and Showtime. And the cool thing about it that they are not overlapping information-wise. So I guess they were both coordinated to like push out as much information as possible, because they, and to a certain extent, they complement each other. So I highly recommend like checking out both if you're interested. And the cool stuff about it, which was a very pleasant surprise on my end, is that it was like not fear-based, which is, thank God, finally, we're starting to grow up. It was like not a fear-based thing about like, oh my God, like ETs, they're going to take over the world and blow up the World Trade Center. Oh, they already blew that. I mean, like the White House or something, just as you see in every movie. So yeah, it was mainly focused on like just simply objectively like recounting experiences, which is very cool. And what I really enjoyed about it is that they are exploring like different aspects of the whole ET phenomenon. And the most awesome thing is that they're like sowing seeds that, hey, like ET doesn't necessarily mean that some guy on another planet, on our own plane of existence, like hops into a spaceship car and just travels here and like gets out and does stuff here on planet Earth. But it's like far more complex. They're like also mentioning the possibility of time travel, of like us. I mean, they don't say it out loud as I do, but they're like sowing the seeds of like, hey, maybe our evolved selves from another timelines are maybe coming back to visit us and warn us about things and assist us in certain issues. Or the other one is that they're very greatly exploring the possibility of they're coming from another reality. So it doesn't necessarily mean that they come from another planet, but they come from another version maybe of Earth. Or even if they come from a different planet, as in the case of many star races who are interacting with us, like their world is not on the same plane of existence as ours. So if we were to, in many cases, travel to their home world, in our plane of existence, it would simply not be there. Or maybe it would be just a barren wasteland, because their culture is in a much more high vibrational state, and it is not something that is perceivable by us here. And also that's the awesome way how they're able to mask their presence from us, is that they exist on a much higher plane of existence, and in that higher vibrational state, it is easy to like lower to lower your vibration and like show yourself or reveal yourself to a certain extent to a lower vibrational being, as in mean like human beings like us. But for us, it is far more difficult because you cannot really raise your vibration easily. Like you have to do the work and evolve to become higher vibrational. But when you have already done the work, then it is easy for you to like lower it and just like peek down and like do stuff on the lower vibrational planes. But yeah, that's why UFOs are so sneaky, because they don't necessarily have like stealth technology or something. They just simply shift their vibration or just teleport to another dimension. Like many of them are just simply able to do that. Like as they have explained it, like they don't necessarily travel to places. I mean, they like can maneuver in front of you or just up in our atmosphere, but they don't actually travel to different dimensions or, I don't know, like a different star system as we imagine it, like hopping on a spaceship and like spending God knows how much time like traversing the space, going to that location. They just simply go there and just they are there. Like they are able to like shift their vibration, and that's in a way that they're just simply able to change time and space around them. And just from our perspective, I guess it would be called teleportation, but they don't really like that word. So as they have explained, it is like something like bending time and space to such an extent that travel becomes instantaneous. So yeah, they are very much ahead. Okay, yes, we have another question. Are the Stargates portals being used here by our shadow gov to access other planets? I have absolutely no information on that. I don't know. I know like there's a lot of info on it, but like how legit and true it is, I have zero clue. When I always like listen to those stuff, I do it with a lot of discernment and like do it very objectively, because I guess like there's probably a lot of distortion or like disinformation in them anyways. But there can be also like truth in it as well, not sure. If it's something that you feel that helps to like listen to those stuff, then I guess you can do it. But like, yeah, like use your discernment to 111. It's super important. Okay, and with that, I think we can conclude this awesome event. Thank you so much for everyone being here. And also, if you watched the replay to this point, thank you very much. Sending you much love and appreciation for being part of our community. And look forward to next week's event when we will do, I want to do the light language activation. When we'll talk about light language, I will share what I know about it, my experiences with it, and I also will go into some Atlantean stuff as well later on, maybe in one of the events. Somewhere when the audio book will come out of Thoth, the Book of Immortals. Like it's almost done, and I will be hopefully publishing it on 11/11. So look forward to that. Okay, thank you for joining. I'm sending all of you much love.